focus for this interview session. City this morning. Well, that was the dailies actually over there, and I am sure that you've actually picked one or two things that will help you to argue well. Exactly. All right, we'd like to move on to the next segment, and it's none other than the interview, and our guest is already with us here in the studio. She is none other than Madam Sheena Tosin Amujo. Good to have you in the studio, ma'am.
You're welcome, ma. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay. Well, we will be focusing this morning on identifying your core values and passions. Identifying your core values and passion will be our focus for this morning. So now let's start straight up. Now, when we talk about identifying your core values and passion, what exactly do we mean? Core values and then passion. What exactly does that particular one mean?
Identifying your core values and passion has to do with you. That is your own self-awareness. That is knowing yourself. And in knowing yourself, first of all, you have to identify your personality. You need to be self-aware. Who are you? Then what do you stand for? What are the values? And when you talk about values, it has to do with virtues, the virtues that you exude as a person, the virtues that people know you with. For instance, if you're an honest person, honesty is a value. If you have integrity, it is a value. So knowing who you are matters. And most importantly, when you know who you are in a better position to relate with people who are on the outside. Now, there's a blend between, your core values and passion. Most of the time, your core values are inclined towards what you like to do. So they are inclined towards your own passion as a person. So you see yourself, going towards or having passion or loving what has to do with your core values. So they are intertwined, because if I don't love what I'm doing, I won't do, that happiness, that fulfillment will not be there. So there is a blend between the two.
Okay, so now let's bring it down to you as a person.
Okay.
Can you tell us your core values, like your core values? Let's talk about that.
I have a number of them. Personally, my core value or my primary core value is honesty.
Okay.
I'm a very honest person. The truth of, I don't know how to lie to someone, because the fear of being discovered, and apart from that, it will have a dent on my personality. So if my yes is yes and my no is no, unfortunately the no's may hurt, but I also prioritize my core values when I'm relating with people. Another one is integrity. In fact, this one has been inculcated since I was a child, because that's what my parents stand for. So they'll always tell you a good name is better than riches. So that's stuck in my head, and I'm always looking for, opportunities to prove my integrity. Now, even when I don't prove it, it has a way of showing, because when you tell someone no, it may hurt temporarily, but the person will later appreciate the fact that you were honest enough to tell them no. So that's another core value of mine. Or another one is empathy. Being considerate of other people. And it expresses itself in many ways. For instance, what you say. Some people are so, let me use the word, vulgar with words without considering the feelings of others. Yes. So before I think you utter a word, you consider the other person, and that's what I stand for. Sometimes it's like as if I'm not pleasing myself, but at the end of the day, there is a fulfillment that comes. I identified with such a person, either in their weaknesses, in their joys, and it's another value that I stand for. So many of them in that line. And another, which is not the least, is love. I'm people oriented, and I tend to, because I'm empathetic, I tend to carry people along, make them feel warm and loved. Yes, people may not always be on the same level or class with you, but carrying them along is what matters. You're not looking down on anybody. You are appreciating that the place where you are is a privilege. So that helps you to carry people along and to love them regardless of who they are.
Wow, this is too much. All right, so now let's talk about your brand.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Okay, my brand is our Pride Global Academy. That's actually a part of our Pride Ventures. Now, our Pride Global Academy, it's an academy that tends to bring out the best version of people. So it's an academy that helps to change the mindset of people, because that is where it all, starts from, the mindset. So we position ourselves in such a way that we try to transform people's mindset so that they can be able to relate with others from a better perspective. And once the mind is transformed, it will affect virtually, every area of their lives. So we dwell on emotional intelligence, leadership, personal development, and other courses that help to transform the mindset of people that wants to be transformed. I use that word because not everybody is inclined to change.
That's true.
Yeah, some people's personality are stiff and rigid, but there's a way that you will influence such people that they will begin to see life more differently. So the more different they see life, the more it impacts on their own personality. So there is a change. So that's what our Pride Global Academy does.
So now let's still talk about the brand. Actually, I'm very much interested in that, right?
Yeah.
Now, what do you want people to associate with your personal brand? Like, what do you want them to associate with your own personal brand?
Well, what I want people to associate with the brand is to be able to point to the fact that, okay, this brand was a part or had an impact in my life and made me a better person. So if you're going to point a finger to what influenced you or your influences, our Pride Global Academy should be a priority in that area.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. All right. Now, we've talked about your core values, and I heard something like integrity, something like love, honesty. You've mentioned a whole lot of things when it comes to your core values, and then I am sure it's not just your personal. So I'm sure it actually translates down to your brand as well, right?
Yes.
So now, what are the core values, and how do they influence your brand? That is those core values you've actually made mention of. Those love, those integrity, how do they actually influence your brand?
Now, these same core values are what my brand also stands for, because it's a representation of who I am. So when we are impacting the lives of our students, we try to incline them towards the same values. Now, some may come, they already have their own values and or their own core values. Now, when they come, it's a way of emphasizing on the positives, that's their positive values, and then de-emphasizing on the negatives. Now, it's just a matter of prioritizing the positives above the negatives. For instance, people or others may see anger as a negative core value, but there's a way you channel it that it will express your dissatisfaction and also not dent your own personality. So the brand also helps to bring out the best in people. Now, if what they have on the inside is not the best, ours is to refine them to bring out the best in them. So the core values are not being tampered with.
Okay, so now so far so good. Talking about this particular brand, I'm sure it's online.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because I think I've actually come across it once like that. So now let's talk about some of the challenges you've encountered. I'm very much interested in challenges, because whenever you're talking about a story, you can't just talk about the goodies. Oh, it was all fun, it was all nice, it was all rosy, it was all beautiful. I'm sure you must have encountered one challenge or the other, in the process. So what exactly are some of these challenges you've encountered? I'm talking about the ones that actually made you feel like, I am tired. It has do. I want to give up. That kind. I'm talking about the ones that are actually too heavy, and you feel like, let me just kukuma give up. I'm not going to do it again. So tell us some of these challenges you've encountered.
Yes, let me go back to the beginning. Like when we started, there was a lot of let me see, financial cost, because we had to look for venue, we have to look for place or space. So mostly when I started, it was a program. I started with a program, Youth with a Destiny. So from the program, people do come for the program, and then we were positioned in 4 different directions. That's the personal development, business, marriage, and relationship. So there were the 4 arms that we were targeting, or we targeted. Now, shortly after then, COVID hit, and the program we're actually planning to hold during that period, we shifted it online.
Okay.
So since then, it's that online space that I've been using for the academy. Now, so the major challenge, apart from that, is to get like physical venue where such academy will hold, like one-on-one. And then another challenge is now the people. Not everybody wants to be transformed, because they're already comfortable in their zone. They are comfortable. They feel who they are is the best they can be. Now, getting people to want to be a better version of themselves is a bit challenging, because everybody feels they are the best at the moment. But when you begin to relate with them, you now see that there are loopholes, or this person can be better. So it's like seeing a talent, and you want to bring out the talent, or show the person to the world that we have a brand here. Now, for the person to be willing to change is another thing. Yes, so you have people that are antagonistic to change. So getting them in their numbers is a bit challenging. So most of the time you have one-on-one class, yes, one-on-one, or maybe a few class, and at the end of the day, I think we are heading somewhere. Despite the challenge, if one person transforms or change another, yes, it will go a long way. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Although these challenges you've actually mentioned, I don't see them as something that will make you feel like giving up anyways, but then that's by the way. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years, like your brand, to be precise?
Okay, let me just hint on where you came from. The challenge is, it's easier said than experienced.
Okay.
Because when you're trying to source, for people, create that awareness, and you're not getting the effort you're putting in versus the result you're getting is not corresponding, honestly, it's discouraging. But in the next 5 years or more, I see the brand, getting bigger and better. Getting bigger with outreach, maybe the scope of our influence, I see it, going better. And I'm sure it's not something I'll just wish in my head, but taking decisive and intentional steps towards making it better. Like you heard from the name, it's a global academy.
All right, let's hold this. Okay, and go for a short break.
All right.
I would like to go on a short break right away, and when we are back, surely we'll continue with this particular interview, please.
Is a global village, and interaction made easy. Teen City This Morning is a live talk show program which will be showcasing happenings in Plateau State, Nigeria, and the world at large. We shall be bringing to you live interviews with the political and business class, feed you with updates within the sports and entertainment circle. Beam the beauty of our culture and tourism to the world. Teen City This Morning, touching all aspects of life.
On Teen City This Morning. Yeah, before the break we were talking about something very, very important. Actually, Shina was actually sharing with us, so I think you'll continue from where you stopped.
All right. We're talking about where the brand will be in the next 5 to 10 years or more. And like I was saying, it's a global academy, and I see the brand going global. And like I was saying, there are certain steps that will take me there. So if I'm seeing myself in the next 5 years going global, then I have to be intentional with the steps that will take me global. So that is maybe creating more awareness, and then, going all out to ensure that it works. Also, I'm looking at collaboration collaboration. So the brand is also open to anyone who may, who has interest in personal rebranding and development. Seeing people become a better version of themselves is really inspiring. Like having an impact or influence in someone's life, it's really inspiring. So it's also open to, further collaborations within, Nigeria and even abroad. It's all about transforming people's mindsets, saying that, okay, if you're like this, there is hope. There is, you can be more. So you cannot just be, let's say, fixed in a box. There are certain personalities that need to be transformed, not because they are bad, but because they can be better. So I see our scope of influence being enlarged, beyond the shores of Nigeria. And if collaborators, are on ground or they come in, I think it will also help boost the scope of influence and also take it global.
You actually talk about development, and you said not everyone is actually open to that, right? Now, your brand, actually, what you're doing is trying as much as you can to develop other people, to see that people become the best version of themselves, like you mentioned earlier on. So now, what are some of the skills that you think your brand needs to actually add up, right, to actually make it better? Because you actually want to develop people, which is very beautiful, but then there are some certain skills that your brand probably needs to, or let me just say, is there or are there any skills that your brand needs to actually add up to make it better also, so that it can actually do that particular work you want it to do?
Okay, I made mention of some of them earlier, but I'll still bring it up. Now, from our own side, I think primarily is that awareness. We're going to work, extensively on that. And then also, there are certain skills, like you mentioned, that we are going to inculcate in the brand. And this includes let me say presentation. I wanted to say packaging, but presentation, or packaging and presentation. It also matters, because if it is packed and well presented, I think it will be attractive. So that is it. And then another aspect is maybe working with people, like getting more hands in order to expand or extend the brand. Now, if I'm talking about getting more hands, that means there are certain skills that will help me towards that particular area, and that is being open to people, being consistent, being outgoing, because sometimes I think it's a skill, because I am not. So I am not, but I'll try to be more outgoing. And also being rigid, I think, is a minus. So I'll try to be more flexible, because sometimes when you have an academy like that, you have standards, rules, and you feel, okay, I can't bend to this, forgetting that we're actually dealing with people.
Exactly.
Yes. So I think we'll work more on being flexible, because sometimes maybe just one person wants a transformation or wants to enroll, but you are now saying, okay, the minimum intake is this, and if it doesn't meet social standards, so it's like having a negative impact on the brand itself.
But don't you think being flexible will make the brand to be, how would I even put it? Okay, don't you think being flexible will make the brand, right, to lose its cover, like the real aim or the reason it was actually established at first?
Being flexible doesn't mean being loosed. There are two different things. Being flexible is being able to accommodate even people that fall below your standard, just to encourage them and to also boost your brand. It doesn't mean we are loose. It doesn't mean we are losing our values. It's just being flexible, because being rigid also has its negative impact. Yes, because you may end up losing when you're overly rigid. Yeah, so being a little flexible, it just helps you to accommodate people.
Other people.
Yes, just to be more accommodating. So I think if we are a bit flexible, we can accommodate, each and every person. We do other things apart from the Global Academy. That's just an arm of our Pride Ventures. So that is our own work.
Okay. So now let's go back to the brand up to now.
Okay.
Now, how do you handle criticism and setbacks, basically, in the brand, the journey so far?
Okay, criticism is both negative and positive, I want to believe.
Yeah.
And the positive actually inspires me to keep going.
Yeah, but mostly negative.
Yes, I started with the positive.
People always like, really? Seriously? Are you doing this? Why are you even doing this? They will try to say one or two things that would definitely discourage one. So how do you deal with that?
Okay, negatively, I actually get more ideas or new ideas from negative criticism.
Okay.
So it takes me inward and makes me see, how can I turn this, to something better? So it doesn't weigh me down, or it doesn't have to weigh me down. So I try to see.
You must have a large heart, child. I mean,
sometimes we just have to encourage ourselves.
Annoying.
You see, the way like David, we just have to encourage ourselves.
Yeah.
So it helps me want to prove a
Them
point.
wrong,
Yes, I want to
kind of.
prove them wrong. Like it doesn't. Even if nobody does it, I am here to challenge the status quo and to tell you that yes, it can work. Even if you're dealing with people, no matter how rigid they are, especially when you're dealing with the melancholy, they can be really rigid, But it inspires me because the output is where I am focused. I want to see them transformed. So when I'm faced with negative feedbacks, it gives me new ideas. It takes me inward and helps me to see where I can change. I get ideas actually from negative feedbacks.
Okay, so now let's go personal. Give us an example, basically, of the ones you've actually encountered so far so good, and then how you're able to overcome.
Okay, like during one of our trainings, people connect from, location is not a challenge, like I said, because it's online. So people connect from Lagos, Ibadan, Ekiti, and different states. And here, in fact, that particular set, since it was a fresh thing, it started not too long on online. So I keyed into a brand that was I think doing giveaway or something like that online. So I came in as a sponsor of a program, of an online program, and I was to sponsor those that will key into that brand. So I came in as a sponsor, and one of the part I played was that the winners of the particular, as a sponsor, they were going to come into my academy for free. So when that happened, those that came in, that is the successful candidates, now joined the brand. And not everybody will be the same. So two people particularly, they were not taking it seriously. Like it felt it was a free thing, so they were just being so let me use the word lackadaisical about the whole thing. Their commitment was not really there, and it was so discouraging. I was like, is it because I gave you this for free? And it was so discouraging. So today they are here, they were giving me excuses, missing classes and all that. I was like, hi, are you sure I'm going to do this again?
Exactly.
So it was so discouraging. I reached out to one of them, and she was so sarcastic in her response. Dearly beloved, I just exited her. I was like, sorry, yours is terminated. It sounded so, it was as if I was rigid, it sounded as if I was too harsh, but I was like, we're inculcating values here. So if you're not able to show commitment in simple things like this, how much more a lifestyle or your personality? That was a challenge. The other one, she was actually sick during the period. I had to keep reaching out, only to discover that she was sick. That one, you can see two different scenarios.
At least there's a reason.
Yes. And, sickness is not something that she was expecting. And being a student, so I was a bit flexible with her. And that inspired me. That's why I said, okay, maybe I'll be a bit flexible. By the time she came in, she packed some of their words, because we give our words during graduation online. And, she came back and was really willing to learn. And I asked myself, what if I was that rigid, the way I was to the first and I was to the second? So that is just one of the challenges. It was really discouraging, because of their responses and lack of commitment.
Okay, so now we have a lot of people that actually want to start something. So someone might actually be watching and like, oh, I want to start something, I want to do this, I want to do that. But then first of all, I'm afraid. Fear is the first thing that will definitely come up with you whenever you want to do something big or something great or something different. Now, if someone wants to start something and then the person is probably afraid, or the person doesn't know how to go about it, or there are different kind of stuff that probably is keeping the person from doing the certain things he or she wants to do in setting up a brand, to be precise. So what exactly do you advise such a person to do? How should that person go about it? How should that person start? Where would that, like just
I understand.
Yeah.
If you want to, live up to your dreams or start a brand, I think the first thing I would advise is to be authentic.
Okay.
Be authentic. Be your, let the real you, or let it be a priority. Because I say so because there are a lot of influences that will make you want to compromise at one stage or the other. So first of all, be authentic. Secondly, observe the industry, whatever industry you want to go or venture into. Observe the industry. Then secondly, you have to build yourself, because first and foremost, you are the brand. So build yourself. How do you do that? You can attend conferences, seminars in your area or in the industry you want to venture into. And you also have like, I'm going back to the main thing now, your core values. You should be willing to build on it, interact with people in the industry, know the trend. Okay. In this particular industry, what is the inclination of that industry at the time? It will help you find your footing in whatever industry you're going into. And then also, I would advise that you don't allow your authentic or unique voice to be silenced.
Okay.
Yes, because for everything you want to venture into, there are people there already, so you are not the first. And if you're the first, I think it is a privilege for you to set the standard. So don't allow your unique voice to be silenced. That's very important. Because at one point or the other, there will be a lot of, things that will want to make you compromise. It may be as if your own values are outdated, they are not in vogue, it's not, no result is coming from it. But when you stand, in your own authenticity, you will be able to make a difference in whatever field or industry you set out to.
Yeah. Perfect. That's great. Really, I'm like I'm learning a lot, and I'm actually carried away. Okay. All right. That's nice. So, what about let's go down to your advice to virtually everyone, the youths, the adults, the governments, the private sectors, and whatever. You just a word of advice to virtually each and every one of them, starting from the youth first of all.
Okay.
Keep moving like that.
All right.
Even parents too. They have people, they have children that actually wants to start something. Okay. Yeah.
So for the youth, my advice is be inclined to change. Now, when I say be inclined to change, doesn't mean that what you're doing is outdated or you're not perfect. Educators will always say that the largest room that can never be filled is the room for improvement. So whatever you're doing, or even who you are, always seek to improve on whatever you're doing. And in so doing, you will notice that you have to change in one way or the other. But let the change be positive, let the change be transformative. Now, for the parents, my advice to them will be to be supportive. There are some things that the youth may want to do or venture into, or an industry they want to go into, that the parents will not be supportive, maybe because of who they are. But I believe that for every child there is a gift. My advice to the parent is to fan the flame. Because I believe that as a parent, you've laid the foundation already, and your duty is to guide. So as a parent, you can give them your support, just guide them to be the best version of who they want to be in whatever industry they choose to be. And if you have laid the foundation, there are certain values that will speak, in their lives, even in the industry that they are into. So just give them their support and pray for them. It's not out of place.
So before you move down to government and others, let's say I actually have heard of it, and then I've seen a situation whereby parents are like, oh no, you want to do this? No, you can't do this in my house. No, you can't do this. And this small person or this child of yours actually have passion for this. The person has passion for that particular thing he wants to do, but then the parent like, no, not in my house, not under my watch. You can't do that. Now, what exactly can you say? No, I actually would want to reason with the parent as well, and don't want to reason with the children, because that's what you're passionate about as a child. then the parents on the other side, well, actually it doesn't really rhyme with what I stand for as a parent or as an individual. Now, how do we marry this together? Okay, you're telling the parent, okay, just encourage. Why would I encourage something that does not really, represents me? Now, that is actually, I'm just like asking as a parent that actually has a child that wants to do something that I am not interested in. So how would I as a parent go about it?
Okay, first of all, I want to say that shall I say character, that particular behavior hampers on the child. They hampers on their personality, because they feel you're conforming them to who you are and not who they want to be. So it has a negative impact. And how does this show forth? I have seen scenarios where the parent's attitude, like you say, this is what the parent wants, which is against what the child actually wants to do. And at the end of the day, the child will do what the parent wants, give it to the parent, and still go all out to fulfill his or her passion. So, and I believe it is not actually what we parents will want to see. Like you doing something because I asked you to, you give it to me, and you still go to fulfill your passion. Yes, there's a possibility that what the parent wants will actually make the child's talent or passion better in one way or the other. But what you're doing, you're making the child or conforming the child to live out your life and not his. And the child has its own uniqueness, and so is the parent. So your job is not to conform but to guide. I use that word repeatedly. Now, if you're guiding a child, for instance, let's say the child wants to be a musician, and you as a parent, you are spiritually inclined, maybe you're a Christian, a born-again Christian, and you get to see that, okay, your child is not even singing the gospel music. What do? That's a practical scenario. Now, in that case, I believe that you have laid that foundation of spirituality. You have given that child a spiritual foundation, and you didn't just stop there. You're also praying for the child. But here the child says, I want to do secular music. And the secular music will impact negatively on the parents' personality.
Exactly, especially if they're elders in the child, I saw.
So I think it's to guide the child. First and foremost, employ dialogue. In such a case, employ dialogue. You make the child understand. Now, we're still going back to the mind. You make the child understand what you want to do is not bad, because I know you have passion there. But this is the impact it may not just have on your own person. I am also involved. Now, let me deviate a little. I have seen a secular musician or artist whose parents are pastors. Yet,
a lot.
Yet the child or the person is singing secular music. Yet the parents support them, and it doesn't mean that the child's passion is denting their own personality. It only shows who the child is. And just like I said, even if you keep praying for them, because most likely the music is not a bad thing. But God, you can't take the place of the Holy Spirit. I don't know, I'm going more spiritual. So you allow God to, work on the child and do the convincing. Yours is to guide. Let the child know that, okay, what you're doing, this is the impact, positive, and this is the negative. And allow the child to decide. Whatever choice he chooses, I think it's for you to support and pray.
As a parent, right?
As a parent, you pray. And I'm sure prayer, God still answers prayers, so it will work. You do that. And in the long run, you may notice most times the child will come back and fall in line with what you actually, because that mind, that voice is still there. The child, even though he's doing what he wants, the convicting power is not in your hands. So it's when you support the child will even feel encouraged. Exactly. He will feel encouraged. And in that same encouragement, the child will find his or her passion. If that line is not his or her passion, he will still fall in line.
The world is a global village, and interaction made easy. Teen City This Morning is a live talk show program which will be showcasing happenings in Plateau State, Nigeria, and the world at large. We shall be bringing to you live interviews with the political and business class, feed you with updates within the sports and entertainment circle. Beam the beauty of our culture and tourism to the world. Teen City This Morning, touching all aspects of life.